Central Florida has been dealing with and recovering from one hurricane after another over the past 10 hurricane seasons.
So it's going to be moving across.
From devastating storm surge and wind damage along the East Coast, from Hurricanes Matthew and Nicole, to widespread record flooding from Hurricanes Irma and Ian, to the biggest tornado outbreak in Florida history from Hurricane Milton.
We just ran into the bedroom.
Yikes!
Severe Weather Team 9 and live dual-pole Doppler 9 radar stand ready to keep you safe and informed throughout this year's hurricane season. This is a Severe Weather Center 9 special, Predicting the Path.
Hello, everyone. I'm Certified Chief Meteorologist Tom Terry. This is my 30th hurricane season here in Central Florida. And if you're new to Central Florida, welcome. I've covered dozens of tropical systems here, both big and small, and I've taken you through how to get ready for a storm and how to hunker down as the storm hits. But of course, we cover storms as one big team here in Severe Weather Center 9. Over the next half hour, we're going to get you up to date on getting through the multiple impacts and many challenges that these tropical systems bring. But let's start with Certified Meteorologist Cassandra Crimi, no stranger to hurricanes. You've been here for 12 years. You and I have stood right here and covered many a storm.
That's right. 12 working years, 16 living years. Went to Florida Tech and graduated there. And that's really where the inspiration to this career in meteorology began, 2004. One for the record books.
Yeah, that was a busy season. Last year was not so busy.
Right. We're going to talk a lot about that, some of the elements that went into play, why we didn't get those storms generated, and we're going to look at this upcoming season, how El Nino could come into play.
A big El Nino. That's going to be interesting. We have to watch things through the hurricane season and into the winter of 2027 as well. Thank you, Cassie. We'll see you again in just a minute. Let's head over now and talk to my good friend, Certified Meteorologist David Hecker. No stranger to Florida hurricanes. You track them in Jacksonville, Fort Myers, Orlando. You're with FEMA. What hasn't this guy done? And fun fact, you weren't here 2 weeks and we had major hurricanes.
Yeah, I just joined Severe Weather Center 9 and pretty active stretch. 2 weeks we had Helene. 3 weeks after that we had Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, so there's a lot to get you prepped for as far as kind of what you need to have on hand, and we're going to talk about that.
Absolutely. Of course, Florida can get hit really hard by storms. We're going to talk about the preps there and also some insurance considerations as well.
Yeah, lots of insurance and lots of times that we have to keep track of. Thank you, David. A lot to cover with you as well. And we'll also hear from anchor Greg Warmoth, who will join us in a few minutes as well. Now, if you're new to Central Florida, our newest member, but certainly not new to hurricane, Certified Meteorologist Daniel McFarland. And Daniel, your family actually had to ride out a hurricane back in 2004.
Funny, 2004 comes up a lot,
yeah,
right?
It does.
Hurricane Ivan wiped out my house in that hurricane, and storm surge was just a huge impact along the coastline of Pensacola.
That's right, yeah. You had to evacuate from Pensacola down to here, and then you actually had to ride out Hurricane Jean right here in Central Florida.
Yeah, very interesting few months, I know, for everyone around here.
Yeah, you know, we get lots of great data from the hurricane hunters, and you went and saw them up close.
Absolutely. Got a good chance to talk to them, Tom, and they actually told me what it was like to fly through one of these eye walls.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a lot about that and a lot about storm surge. Thank you, Daniel. And surge is such a big problem here in Florida, and we had record storm surge 10 years ago this summer as Major Hurricane Matthew churned up the east coast of Florida and took years to recover from. Central Florida has been in an active hurricane pattern since 2016. And it all started as Hurricane Matthew slid up our coast during the high tide cycle, bringing a record storm surge of over 7 feet, washing away over a mile of Highway A1A. I went to Flagler Beach the day after the storm and saw the power of water firsthand. It would take years to repair all the damage. We also saw major coastal damage from both Hurricanes Ian and Nicole back in 2022. This time, the damage just south of Daytona Beach, as beachside homes would be left barely hanging on. It's amazing the power of water. All right, so here's a look at the names for this season, starting with Arthur Bertha Cristobal and going all the way down through the list here. By the way, Bertha was the first storm that I covered. I'd barely gotten here a couple of weeks back in 1996, and Bertha was a hurricane off the coast. But we hope we don't make it all the way through the list. If we do, there's an alternate set of real names. We don't use that Greek alphabet anymore. Now, last year, we had storms that stayed away from Central Florida. Meteorologist Cassandra Crimi joins us now with more on that.
The fuel was there. Record warm ocean water, favorable climate signals, and forecasts calling for another active season. But when hurricane season arrived, something kept many storms from ever getting going.
The biggest reason, the atmosphere above the tropics simply wasn't cooperating. Repeated episodes of wind shear, which is strong changes in wind speed and direction with height, kept many tropical systems from organizing. Systems like their winds stacked. You get this circulation vertically where the winds are pretty consistent from top to bottom. This allows storm system to actually strengthen. But when you have upper level winds that are stronger than what you have at the surface, many can get torn apart before they even develop. Now, at the same time, we have waves of dry air and Saharan dust that was spreading across the Atlantic, suppressing that thunderstorm development. Tom and David.
All right, thanks a lot, Cassie. Now, David, it's time to get ready.
That's right. And kind of think of this as a camping trip that you may take. No electricity for a couple of days. And we're going to need kind of basic items you can get already. Those are things like flashlights, bottled water, and be sure to have batteries. You're going to need a lot of those if the power goes out for a long time.
Yeah, non-perishable foods, a can opener, don't forget that. Also, if you have someone in your house that requires, say, oxygen, you've got to have that power. Either one of the big generators, now's the time to get one, or they have these new smaller ones running off a battery, and perhaps solar panels.
That's exactly right, and this is the time to get these. Anytime a storm gets close to the area, these are always the first things that sell out of the stores. Right. So if you're considering getting a generator, strongly recommend to get one here right now.
And your important papers. If you have to evacuate, take these with you.
Absolutely. All the important things you're going to want to take with you in the event you are evacuated. And it's going to be important. They're in one space. And also some of that information can be helpful in getting a claim, the ball rolling up.
We hope we don't have to go through that. There's a long list of the stuff that you can get at our website, WFTV.com. And just ahead, Greg Wormuth joins us with a look back at covering storms in Central Florida over the past 30 years. And Daniel McFarland joins us with more on storm surge. But as we go to break, here's a big hurricane stat for you. About 90% of all hurricanes form between August and October.
Predicting the Path, brought to you by Central Homes Roofing, the most trusted roofing contractor in Central Florida, and voted Orlando's best roofer 3 years in a row.
Welcome back to Predicting the Path, where we're getting you ready for this hurricane season. I'm Chief Meteorologist Tom Terry, joined by my good friend Greg Wormuth, 30 years in Central Florida, and you've been right here alongside me.
I have, and I've watched in amazement as you have been calm, not only on TV, but in the newsroom, helping our reporters, our photographers, our news assignment desk really navigate where our coverage should go, where it's safe, where it's about to hit, where it's impending. And here's a look back at some of those moments of Tom Terry's 30 years here in Severe Weather Center 9.
Bob, I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this before.
21 hurricanes.
This is going to be the hammer time right up here on the north side.
And dozens more tropical storms. Destroying homes, flooding cities, and causing billions of dollars in damage across Central Florida. Every storm is different, but in the last 30 years, they've had one thing in common.
This is it. You heard it here several hours ago.
Chief Meteorologist Tom Terry made sure we knew with plenty of time. There's no better example than Hurricane Charlie.
We're going to go ahead and just correct what you've heard on the national program. They obviously are not paying attention to the very latest information we have.
22 years ago, the Cat 4 storm made a sharp turn, changing its path to go right over Central Florida.
It stays on its current course. There you see it, getting closer to Central Florida as opposed to Tampa.
And only Tom predicted that, making the call 3 hours before the National Hurricane Center.
The National Hurricane Center, which had its path over here, is now skewed along with us, right through the heart of Central Florida.
And he worked tirelessly in the months after, preparing us for Francis and Jean.
This is a marathon. This is not a sprint.
Both devastating in their own right. Since then, he's made sure Central Florida knows when to hunker down. From the extreme winds of Hurricane Matthew that destroyed so much of our coastline in Volusia and Flagler counties,
Category 4 hurricane right along, brushing the coast,
to the record flooding from Hurricanes Ian and Nicole that tore up the coast and left damage we are still dealing with years later.
Things are blowing literally sideways on the road.
To the record tornado outbreak of Hurricane Milton just 2 years ago.
It just lifted the whole house up.
When Tom makes his forecast, people pay attention, and not just to his words, but to what he's wearing. When hurricane season comes around, the memes start popping up. When the sleeves get rolled up, people take notice. And when the tie is loose or comes off, you know things are serious.
Wow, that's a lot we've gone through together. That was just, unfortunately, a small sample.
My best example that I'd like to bring the viewers that wasn't in that report was I was at the EOC, Orange County, the Emergency Operations Center. When you came on the air and said that Charlie was coming our way, their chief of staff and then the Orange County mayor both came up to me and said, "What did Tom say?" And I said, "It's coming right for us." And that changed the entire tone there. It changed the entire direction of the way that they were going to respond because they were still waiting for the National Hurricane Center.
That's right. And we had to make some quick calls that day. And I still remember you reporting live and Hurricane Charlie ripped the tarp right out of your hand. You were trying to protect yourself during the live shot. But yeah, we've been through a lot together, and that's why we are the place to turn to when these storms hit. Now, in addition to winds and rain of a hurricane, it's that storm surge that we've seen firsthand, too, that causes a lot of damage along the coast. Meteorologist Daniel McFarland has more.
In many cases, storm surge can get well over 10 feet, meaning seawalls like this one are necessary to protect residents we have here along our Atlantic coast from some very dangerous conditions that can come from our oceans. Storm surge is the leading cause of fatalities and destructions in hurricanes and tropical cyclones across the world. It happens when the sea level rises caused by a strong storm pushing wind further inland towards the shore. This phenomenon is very common along our Atlantic coast, and it was especially prominent during Hurricane Ian back in 2022. Bud Verifali was on the board of the Homeowners Association of Bella Vista Condominiums in Daytona Beach during Hurricane Ian. At the time, the condo building had a more than 50-year-old seawall that was decimated by storm surge.
Well, when that happened, obviously the immediate concern was, all right, we need to do everything we can to minimize any other damage. With each change in the tide, more of your land goes away.
Hurricane Nicole came in a few weeks later and did even more damage to the seawall, and the community needed to make a decision on what material to use for a new one starting from scratch.
Well, that was somewhat challenging, but that's what we wound up using, which is the strongest. If you ask people, what's the strongest seawall? It would be steel.
After all the strong hurricanes we've seen over the last decade, you're going to find a lot more strong seawalls like this one being built up along our coast to help protect the residents that we have here along the Atlantic coast. From Daytona Beach shores, Daniel McFarland, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
After a big storm, there's lots of cleanup to do. Orange County Public Works is also preparing for what comes up after a storm. Crews are gearing up for a practice run of their windshield assessment. It's a rapid survey process where the teams will drive through Orange County, reporting on downed trees, blocked roads, and broken traffic signals. Channel 9 anchor Alexa Lorenzo reports this process helps the county deploy crews where they're needed most to clear those roads for first responders.
Crews with Orange County Public Works do this work every day. Clearing drains, ditches, and storm inlets to keep water flowing.
We utilize those blue sky days so that we don't have to scramble in advance of the gray sky days.
Orange County Public Works' Daryl Moody says crews are preparing for what happens after a storm hits with a practice run of what's called a windshield assessment.
We work with our first responders, fire, EMS, law enforcement, to essentially make sure that once a storm has moved out of the area, the roads are safe for them to respond.
Dozens of two-person teams drive Orange County roads after a storm, mapping damage and downed trees in real time. That information goes straight to the 8 maintenance facilities so they can quickly clear the way for emergency responders.
Preparation is everything, especially in emergency management and response. So exercises like that are critical.
In Orange County, I'm Alexa Lorenzo for Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
In Orange County, you can report any issues via 311 and Public Works will respond. Coming up, we're tracking what could be a record-breaking event in the Pacific and the big impacts this could mean for Central Florida for the rest of the season. But first, speaking of historic, Major Hurricane Melissa in 2025 is tied with 1980's Hurricane Allen as the strongest landfalling hurricane with winds of 190 miles per hour as it hit Jamaica. We'll be right back.
Predicting the Path, brought to you by Central Homes Roofing, the most trusted roofing contractor in Central Florida and voted Orlando's best roofer 3 years in a row.
Welcome back. Our Channel 9 Hurricane Special Predicting the Path continues. Now, in my 30 years here in Central Florida, I've been through quite a few El Nino cycles in the Pacific and the big impacts they can bring to Central Florida. But this year, we may have something truly unique. Meteorologist Cassandra Crimmy has the latest on a super El Nino in the works.
Heading into hurricane season, the Atlantic still has warm water, plenty of tropical fuel for development.
But one powerful climate pattern developing thousands of miles away could put the brakes on storm development. That pattern? El Nino, a warming of the ocean waters across the equatorial Pacific. And while it happens far away from the Atlantic, its impacts can reach straight into hurricane season. When El Nino strengthens, it typically increases upper level winds across the Caribbean and the tropical Atlantic. Now that creates stronger wind shear, one of the biggest enemies of tropical development. Tropical systems, they like that vertically stacked circulation to strengthen, and El Nino makes that much harder. As thunderstorms build around a developing center, stronger winds aloft can tilt and tear that storm apart before it ever becomes a hurricane. Now, that's one of the biggest reasons that forecasters are leaning towards a quieter season. But some long-range climate models suggest that this El Nino may not be ordinary. It could become exceptionally strong, possibly approaching what meteorologists call a super El Nino, the kind of event where parts of the Pacific run more than 2 degrees Celsius above average. So the takeaway this season isn't to focus on the number of expected storms. It's to focus on your plan. We've been talking about that because the storm that matters most is the one that impacts you. And we say this season after season, it only takes one storm.
I remember back in '92, we only had Andrew really that hit the state, and that was, we're still talking about it here all these years later. While we look at patterns and try to determine how many storms each season is going to have, if you prepare each season, it helps take that pressure off, right? Thanks, Cassie. As a result of our quiet year back in 2025 that you talked about, it may have given a little breathing room to our home insurance companies, but making sure you have policies in good order is crucial. Certified meteorologist David Hecker talks with an insurance expert.
When it comes to hurricane season and protecting your house, you want to do it now.
Eileen Brown would know. The native Floridian and Gallagher insurance agent has been through dozens of hurricanes. She advises all Floridians to understand their insurance policy now before a storm.
Wind and hail are sort of what's going to encompass hurricane, wind, hailstorms, things like that. Your standard homeowner's policy is going to include fire. You're going to want to make sure that you have the right amount of liability coverage.
Brown tells her clients to strongly consider flood insurance, a separate insurance policy that will cover your residence from flooding.
It's usually a few $100s a year, and compared to the risk of your whole home, it's relatively inexpensive.
Brown stressed the importance of homeowners preparing for the season before a storm strikes. That includes trimming trees and securing outdoor objects.
You want to go through the outside of your house. Anything that you think a hurricane could pick up and send off, you want to make sure that that's secured.
And if a hurricane comes, Brown says to be proactive. Take photos of all of your belongings and have insurance carrier information saved on your phone.
As soon as the storm is done, call them, file a claim, and start documenting everything.
Thanks, David. And getting us the information we need to forecast hurricanes, we have to talk about the remarkable work done by the hurricane hunters from both NOAA and the U.S. Air Force. Certified meteorologist Daniel McFarland met up with them recently and gives us an up-close look.
We're in the cockpit of one of these hurricane hunters aircraft where they actually fly through these massive storms to know exactly what we're dealing with before it reaches our coast. The mission of the Hurricane Hunters is to assist the National Hurricane Center in making accurate predictions on the path and intensity of storms. Dr. Michael Brennan is the director of the National Hurricane Center and says that the Hurricane Hunters play a pivotal role in not just determining the current conditions, but also forecasting 3 to 5 days out.
Since we have a new forecast coming out every 6 hours, we want to have the most accurate and recent data to get into those models.
The team is made up of members from NOAA and Air Force reservist members who make passes through these storms multiple times a day. Some missions can take as long as 12 hours depending on how far away the storm is. These planes usually are analyzing a storm for a number of hours, flying through intense turbulence, especially as they approach the eye wall of the storm where the winds are the strongest.
And we fly right through it. We don't fly above it or around it. We fly right through at 10,000 feet. So the plane is gathering data with the sensors on the airplane, wind speed, pressure, temperature.
Each crew member is either an experienced pilot or a meteorologist who has built up years of experience analyzing these storms. NOAA has a team of P3s just like this one that are coming up on 50 years old. They started off in 1977 and will soon need to be replaced. From Sarasota, I'm meteorologist Daniel McFarland, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Thanks, Daniel. I have not been in one of those, at least not in the air. I'm not quite sure that I want to, but it's amazing work that they do. And of course, all that data from the aircraft gets piped right into Severe Weather Center 9 and helps us track these big storms. As we go to break, we remember Hurricane Maria in 2017, which devastated Puerto Rico. An estimated 200,000 left the island after the storm, and many came to Central Florida.
Predicting the Path, brought to you by Central Homes Roofing, the most trusted roofing contractor in Central Florida and voted Orlando's best roofer 3 years in a row.
Welcome back to Predicting the Path, where we're getting you ready for this hurricane season. We are using the most advanced weather radar in Central Florida to help track these storms. Live dual-pole Doppler 9 radar is constantly scanning the skies, giving us life-saving weather data as it monitors both damaging wind, tornadoes, along with flooding rainfall and hail. And I had a chance to go up into live dual-pole Doppler 9 as it was installed last October, and I can tell you firsthand it is big and it's a powerful tool that we're going to use every day to help keep you safe. And we have so many ways for you to stay well informed if a storm does threaten, even if the power goes out.
Yeah, we have lots of resources in the hurricane section of our website, WFTV.com, including hurricane preparation checklists, access to local county emergency operation centers, and those evacuation routes.
Also, you can watch us live and have access to live dual-pole Doppler 9 radar anytime on our WFTV News and Weather apps. Just look for those in your app store. We also invite you to download WFTV Now for your smart TV, where you can go watch our live coverage and get weather updates 24/7.
And we have a great bunch of radio partners you can turn to as well, with 107.3 and 580 AM WDBO here in the Metro Orlando area, and our coastal radio partners in both Volusia and Brevard County.
Yeah, lots of ways to stay informed. Thank you for joining all of us for our Channel 9 Hurricane Special, Predicting the Path, as our Severe Weather Team 9 works to keep you safe this hurricane season.